Hello and welcome to Queendom TV, and today we're going to be continuing with the contracts, guys. Today we're going to be discussing the terms of the America's Got Talent USA America's Got Talent. It's in America, duh. Okay. The contract. And for those of you who don't know why we're discussing this, why all of a sudden I'm making videos about contracts, we like to expose Holly Weird over here. And one of the tricks of the trade, one of the tools in the arsenal of the Holly Weirdos is these traps, these contracts that trap, a lot of artists, a lot of athletes, in terms and things that they don't understand. Now, in the previous two videos, I talked about, in this particular playlist, I talked about, first of all, non-disclosure agreements, which go and check those out if you haven't seen those. And that basically, you can go and find out what that is in that video and how that can be used to exploit talent. In the second video, I discussed the X Factor UK audition terms, and I showed how, people are being trapped into way more than they might realize, particularly if, like most people, if they're being honest, they don't read the full terms and conditions. Now, personally, I feel that regardless of how long the terms and conditions are, I think it's wrong to knowingly get people to sign up for things they probably don't understand. And so I don't know if the X Factor, America's Got Talent, any of these shows or even record labels are actually making sure that the people have a good legal representation and support to understand what they're signing up for. Highly doubt it, purely because it would be so much more beneficial to get them to sign away into something they don't understand than to explain, lest they not, audition. Now, from what I've read, I personally will never be auditioning for X Factor or Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent or any of those shows based on the terms and conditions that we're going to be talking about now. So let's get into America's Got Talent. Now, let me make sure I've got all the pages here. I'm missing a page. Right, there's a lot to discuss here. In my last video, it took me a little bit long to get through, so I'm going to try and get through this a bit quicker this time. So, first of all, the thing that I wanted to point out, and I've got it here, by the way, guys, if you haven't seen this from my previous videos, I've got my little printout here where I've been highlighting the bits and bobs that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So first things first, America's Got Talent. This one is effective as of the 22nd of September 2020. It says, I've highlighted, use of the site and company service is limited to users 13 years of age and older that are residents of the United States. Now, this particular application is the online application where I believe you upload like a video to audition. And so here are the terms that you're agreeing to pretty much by auditioning online. Now, I wanted to point out this point because I mentioned in the previous one about being 16 years old and the pressure of signing up for something like this. To me, it's absolutely crazy that a 13-year-old is going to be signing up to some of these terms that we're going to speak about in a moment. And I feel like this is a foreshadowing of the exploitation of the naivety and ignorance, which is not the fault, by the way, of the people, the contestants at all, that they have, So, and I will just say, obviously, they do mention in here that you have to, get permission from an adult. When you arrive, you must be there with a responsible adult, blah, 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 blah. Actually, does that even say that in this one? Not yet in this agreement, but they definitely mentioned having to have an adult in the X Factor one. Anywho, so the next part, the term of this contract is in the how long this contract goes on for. It says, this agreement shall remain in full force and effect while you use the site or have an account. Company may terminate your subscription at any time without warning, even after your account expires or is terminated. This agreement will remain in effect, i.e., once this is all over, whatever you have agreed to in this thing still stands. It says, even after your account expires or is terminated. So by my understanding, expiration could be you've been on the show, maybe you came 7th, you're off, and are you still held to the terms of these contracts? As far as what that just said, in my understanding, yes, you are. If your contract is terminated, right? If your subscription is terminated, so even if they terminate it for you or whatever, you're already signing yourself up for this. So again, to me, it's just another way that they're preparing themselves in advance to be protected from absolutely anything, from you being able to sue them or get them in trouble for absolutely anything that you do as soon as you pretty much are in contact with them. Now, you guys are going to see why I say this as we delve further. So I'm just going through the sections. This is a long thing, so you guys could actually go and check this out if you'd like. You can just literally search up what it is, but here we go. So here's the next section. You acknowledge consent and agree that the company may access, preserve, or disclose information you provide, including user content. When user content, for example, could be like your audition tape. When company has a good faith belief, very vague, right? Good faith belief that such access, preservation, or disclosure is necessary in order to protect or defend the legal rights of or property of company, our parents, subsidiaries, or affiliates, or their employees, agents, and contractors, including enforcement of our agreements. 2, to protect the safety and security of users of the company, services, or members of the public, including acting in urgent circumstances. And 3, protecting against fraud or for risk management purposes, or to comply with applicable law or legal purposes. So you acknowledge, consent, and agree that the company may access, preserve, or disclose information you provide for all of these reasons: protecting or defending the legal rights of them, their subsidiaries, all their connections, protect the safety and security of the users of the company or services, and protect against fraud or risk management. So the reason why I pointed this one out is because of these little funny, vague phrases that get used in these types of contracts. For example, it says it has a good faith belief that such access. What is a good faith belief? Again, this is another subjective thing that's easily arguable on their side in court. You could say, I don't think that was in good faith. They could say, well, we think that it was for this reason, that reason, and that reason. And even if you were unhappy with why they use that information, there's nothing that you can say now. And so again, now this is where it gets to the juicy one. This is the really juicy one to me on this one. You shall retain all ownership rights in your user content. By submitting the user content, you hereby grant to FMNA/Psycho, which are the labels for my understanding, in perpetuity, which I got the definition for, perpetuity, never ending. That's what perpetuity means. A non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-license, and freely transferable license to use, reproduce, distribute, prepare, derivative works of, display, adapt, reformat, translate, and otherwise exploit and perform all or any portion of the user content for any purpose whatsoever throughout the universe, including without limitation in connection with 1, the program, including without limitation advertising, marketing, promotion, merchandising, and the exploitation of any and all ancillary and subsidiary rights, and redistributing part of the program to the business, FMNA, Psycho, and its affiliated companies, including without limitation, NBC Universal and or NBC yada yada yada, and or network of internet websites, applications, interactive, You guys get the gist, right? I'm not going to keep going because I don't want our brains to start hurting. Pretty much what they're saying, this little trick here, right? You shall retain all ownership rights in your user content. So you technically own it. However, they've used some terms here that I want us to unpack. They say by submitting the user content, you thereby grant to FMNA/Psycho in perpetuity, so never ending. So you're granting whatever they're about to say, you're granting to them never ending, eternally, right? And non-exclusive, royalty free. So royalties are like, if you see when you hear a song on like a movie, right, and it's a song of somebody that you know, because that song is being played, there's supposed to be money there. They get paid every time that song is used, right? That's why there's all these copyright laws, because people are trying to make sure that people are getting their royalties when their music is being played. So you saying that you're signing up to something royalty free means they can use your user content, right, as much as they want without you gaining money via the form of royalties, which, by the way, is one of the biggest ways and best ways that musicians actually make money, because streaming isn't great. Touring and stuff is here and there. People don't really buy albums anymore. So royalties are actually a fantastic way, because that goes on forever. That means as long as your music, that's why a lot of people who've been making music, they're still making royalties to this day. You know, that's why a lot of people, like, for example, might have some conspiracy theories that, you know, certain people might have been killed on purpose with the purpose of using the royalties. You see what I'm saying? So, sub-licensable and freely transferable license. So what they're saying is, and this to me is a big trick, they're saying you own it, but you're pretty much allowing us to license it. So we really are, it's like what you would class as owning something, i.e. having full, making the decisions as to how this thing is used, right? Those things they can do, but you technically on paper own it. So that's not real ownership to me. That's a load of nonsense. And then it goes on with all this crazy language to say that the license is for them to use, reproduce, distribute, prepare derivative works of, display, adapt, reformat, translate, and otherwise exploit and perform all or any portion of the user content for any purpose whatsoever throughout the universe. Like, you wouldn't think it would say something like this, right? But this is how much they have to cover every single area of what they're talking about. This is how deep these contracts actually go. And to think, guys, this is to audition. This isn't like the contract of the winner. No, this is to audition. This is at the point where you don't even know how far in you're going to get. This is at the point where you might not even understand anything. You might have just signed up just because. You might have done it because your friends dared you and you weren't even sure. Well, guess what? This is what you're signing up for already. And then it goes on to give more examples of ways that they can use it for advertising, marketing, promotion, merchandising, yada, yada, yada. You get the gist. This to me is exploitation. And it is, I can't find the right word. There's like a word I'm trying to find, you know, that's kind of like abuse, but kind of not as heavy, you know, because people probably don't understand this stuff at all. You know, look here, let's continue. For the avoidance, in any and all media formats and for the avoidance of doubt, without limiting rights to edit and or alter any user content, distribute and synchronize all or any portion of your user content in timed relation to any portion of your user content. Pretty much, they've said for avoidance of doubt, yeah, and all this, they're just saying, however we want to chop this up, do this, that, whatever, we get to do it. And they're just making that in plain English, right? Which is not very plain English because it's not very easy to understand. Where was I? Yeah, to encrypt, encode, and decode, and compress and decompress all or any portion of your user content, to edit, mix, combine, merge, distort, superimpose, create, or add special effects, illusions, and or other material to or all of or any portion of reproduction. So you just see how this whole thing to continue, right? But then here's the funny part. Then ends on this particular section. FMNA//psycho has no obligation to review your user content or to use your user content in any manner whatsoever. So it's like, although we've just spent about 2 good paragraphs explaining to you you are giving us the rights to license, but you own us to do basically anything we want in the universe. At the same time, we have no obligation to even look at that content and to use your content in any manner whatsoever. So it's just like, this is all us. And of course, that's fair enough. You know, it's a competition. They probably get loads and loads of people in. And I don't know how they exactly go about, you know, selecting people and stuff. So to me, that's not really a big issue. But I just thought it was interesting that as after saying all they just said, that's what they continued with. Listen to this. Company is not responsible for the content or practices of any websites other than the site, even if the website links to the site, and even if it's operated by an affiliated company or company otherwise connected with the site, i.e., they're telling you that if there is anything on their website that you need to go to, that's another link to another site, they are not responsible for anything that happens over there, whether it's content, whether they're practices. So for example, it could be they from the site, they send you to another site to I don't know, get your to be assigned to an agent, let's say, and the agent is like a connected company of theirs, right? What's the term? An affiliated company of theirs, right? They're pretty much saying that you are responsible for making sure they're not responsible for whatever happens for you going there, even if their website links you to go there. Do you see what I mean? So that's kind of interesting. If you decide to access other websites, you do so at your own risk. If the company has provided links or pointers to other websites on the site or the company's services, they are solely as a convenience to you, and no inference or assumption should be made, and no representation should be implied that company is connected with, operates, controls, or endorses these websites. When you access other websites or third-party services, company encourages you not to provide any personal identifiable information unless you know and are comfortable with the party with whom you are interacting and their privacy policy. I.e., to use my example again, if they've got a site on there saying this is where you can go and get yourself an agent, if you go to get yourself an agent, it is 100% your responsibility, and you're fully liable to check if you trust that company. They are not even saying that they endorse that company, which to me seems like a lie, because why would it be on your website if you're not somewhat endorsing it? But hey, you know, you see what I mean about the deception, the deceptive qualities here, right? So, so and comfortable with the party you're playing with. Right, let's move to the next section. Companies take no responsibility for third-party advertisements which are posted on the site or the company's services, nor does it take any responsibility for the goods or services provided by its advertisers. I.e., this is probably why we all have crazy ads everywhere, because the companies are not taking any liability. They've probably got their little terms and conditions somewhere saying, look, we're not responsible. We take no responsibility for third-party advertisements which are posted on the site or the company's services. Nor does it take any responsibility for the goods or services provided by its advertisers. Pretty much, we're going to put whatever ads we want. You can't say anything to us about it. We're not being held liable. So we're going to put whatever the heck we want, which again, to me, is just a way of them protecting them, making their money off ads. Because if they take any liability, or if we say, oh, but this is America's Got Talent and it's a family show and you are showing inappropriate content, then that's going to stop them from being able to make money as easily as they want to. So instead, in this contract, they just let you know, by the way, guys, we are not responsible for that. And you're acknowledging that all this stuff that it says in here, just know this, guys, that the way that obviously you guys know how contract works, but these are all the things people are agreeing to just by auditioning. Okay, drinking my coffee. Okay, how many times am I going to say okay? Oh, here we go. All right. In particular, company makes no warranty that your use of the site and or company services will be uninterrupted, timely, secure. Listen to this. Or error-free, or that any information obtained by you on. So they're already saying, you even using the site, we're not guaranteeing it's going to be uninterrupted. We're not guaranteeing it's going to be timely. We're not even guaranteeing it's going to be secure. So again, just another risk you're taking on board onto your shoulders just to sign up to a competition. Okay. Through or in, the company services or third-party services, so it's including those as well. Including but not limited to through user content or third-party advertisements will be accurate and reliable. Okay, here we go. This is the next part. Under no death resulting from use of the so this is they're continuing. So, sorry guys, I'm getting a little bit confused with what I got going on here. So then it goes on to say, under no circumstances, oh yes, here we go. Under no circumstances will company be responsible for any loss or damage, including but not limited to property damage, personal injury or death resulting from the use of the site and or company services, problems or technical malfunction in connection with the use of the site and or company services, any user content, third-party advertisement or third-party service posted on, through or in connection with the content, third-party advertisements, third-party services, and the goods or services provided by any third parties is solely your responsibility and at your own risk. User content, third-party advertisements, and third-party services do not necessarily reflect the opinion or policies of company. Pretty much that last bit before I go back to the crazy part is just whatever the third party is asking you to do, we're just saying that we're having a limited liability there. So if they say anything crazy, they can say, well, we only said that we don't necessarily reflect opinions. But then they can still say that they do reflect opinions because they said, well, we didn't say we don't at all. We just said we don't necessarily. See what I'm saying? Now, interesting here how they've gone out of their way to say that they are not responsible for any loss or damage. We've all heard that one before, right? If you leave your car in this car park, we will not be held responsible for any loss or damage, whatever, right? But the bit that gets me is personal injury or death resulting from the use of the site and or company services. Like, that just seems a bit extreme. Like, even death, are you not more concerned about making things safe? But in this day and age, guys, this is how it works. Like, I was in a situation myself where I learned the power of a contract. And I remember I was teaching dance somewhere, and they didn't have insurance. In order to teach certain things and do certain things, you have to have insurance, right? So they didn't have insurance. So what they did instead was they were like, okay, we're going to get this contract that's going to waive the right to insurance and basically the people have to sign and say that in order to do this, and I was working with somebody else, for this, that they have to sign that they are going to take responsibility for whatever injuries and that they do not have the right to sue if something happens. Now, if you're a small business owner or you're doing something and you're in the very early stages and you can't afford to be paying for insurance, I don't think there's no issue with that, as long as you explain to people and they understand, by the way, and that's what I would do, by the way, this contract explains so on and so forth. Please read it all the way through and don't make it like 30 pages long. Make it like half a page, very easy to understand, and just clarifying to people what it is. And I think people are very cool with that. But like I said, one of the issues I have with this kind of stuff is the fact that, is the average person going to understand this? I don't think a lot of the time. Are they even reading this far? I don't think so. And yet this is what they're signing up for, just in terms of auditioning, let alone what they have to sign up for after the fact. And there are already being so many different muzzles and things being put on them to be able to call out anything if anything does happen that's negative. So and then they went on to say the same thing that we had in the other one, which was pretty much, they have the right to terminate your account at any time, but even if your account is terminated or whatever, this agreement still remains in effect. Here's where it gets interesting again. Any dispute arising, this is under arbitration. Now, arbitration is the process by which the parties to a dispute submit their differences to the judgment of an impartial person or group appointed by mutual consent or statutory provision. So it's basically where there is a situation where there's a disagreement, they have to have a third party impartial person or group appointed by mutual consent, so consent by both of them, or statutory provision. So like provision that was already stated kind of thing. Let's hear what they have to say about that. Any dispute arising hereunder shall be arbitrated by and under the rules of J.A.M.S. in a binding arbitration in Los Angeles. So they've already stated the specifics of where you can go if you're going to have a dispute, right? They've made the decision. So this is the statutory provision. California and before Los Angeles, California, and before a mutually selected arbitrator experienced in the United States television and internet entertainment industry. So again, that again is saying it has to be somebody from the United States television and entertainment industry, which could go either way. Could be good for both of you, because somebody who actually understands the industry, but it could also be bad because it could just be somebody that is going to side in favor of them, as they are technically part of the industry themselves. Each of you and company also agrees to give up the right to have claims heard by a jury and the ability to seek to represent in a class action or otherwise anyone but each of you and company. So let's break that down. Each of you and the company also agrees to give up the right to have claims heard by a jury and ability to seek to represent. So you can't have a jury, which sometimes you need a jury because sometimes people are being dodgy and sometimes all the people involved are all on the payroll of the very people coming against you. So they've eliminated the possibility of that. On top of that, they've said you cannot be involved in a class action or otherwise anyone but each you and the company. Now, a class action is where you have, like, for example, you guys might have heard of this thing happening with Johnson & Johnson. They had a class action. Why? Because they did the same thing wrong with a whole bunch of people. So rather than all those people individually trying to sue, what happens is attorneys and solicitors will come together and create a class action where there might be 30 people all suing under the same thing, and it will be kind of one case, even though the terms might be slightly differently because the different people might be offended differently. So again, here, those are very powerful. Class actions are very powerful ways actually of gaining justice because you've got a lot of people. It's more difficult when you're going one-to-one because it's he said, she said. When you've got 30 people against one thing, that is a very strong argument. And I think that's why they've included it here. They keep including you or us, like us and the company. I think that's just to make it look like it's fair, when in reality, it's already swayed in their favor. They're already more powerful. They're the ones in the industry. They're the ones with the experience. They're the ones who probably already have attorneys and everybody lined up. So saying that this is done in advance somehow, if this is for everybody, is just kind of like, you might as well just not even mention that, you know. It says the only exemptions to this are that 1, each of you and company, both you and company, retain the right to sue in small claims court. So small claims court, not big claims, small claims. 2, each of you and company may bring suit in court against the other to enjoin infringement or other misuse of intellectual property rights. So pretty much, if they violate the right of using your property, which we've already heard that they've covered everything. So that just sounds like a joke to me, to be honest with you. Then it goes on to say all proceedings of litigation arising out of this agreement shall be instituted and prosecuted solely within the state of California. Now, I already don't like this. For those of you who've been following the Free Britney vibes, why is it that they can only be done in the state of California? California, from what I can see, seems to have a lot of laws in favor of Hollywood versus the people coming into Hollywood. And so the fact that they're saying this again, big red flag for me. But I get they probably would argue that, well, this is where we do everything and this is where Hollywood is, blah, blah, blah. But I think there's some sinister attachments there. You guys let me know what you think, right? Then it says, talent hereby consents to the jurisdiction of the state courts of California and the federal courts located in the city of California as to any matter arising out of or relating to this agreement, and agree that California is a convenient forum. Now, here's the funny thing. The reason why I think they included and agree that California is a convenient forum is because another thing that could take place in court is somebody could say, well, I don't want to go to California. I actually live in, I live in Florida. I want us to go to Florida because that's inconvenient. So guess what? They've covered that as well. They've said in this argument, well, you're saying that California is a convenient forum. You're signing away just by auditioning to say that California, if there is any dispute, which we are likely to have a swayed influence in because this is where we do our business, then you're saying this is convenient for you, which it may not be, and you've already signed away for it. And the other thing is, if it isn't, it only works out better for them because it's going to be harder for you to keep up with everything and show up to everything if you're not in California. Okay. Then it says, except with respect to disputes to be resolved through an arbitration process in accordance with the arbitration agreement contained above, you and company agree to submit the exclusive jurisdiction of the courts located in Los Angeles, California. So again, forcing them to say even the courts, not even just Cali wasn't enough. Los Angeles, California. So it's like we are control. And do you know what's the thing that sticks out to me about this? I wouldn't be surprised if they've already got judges on their payroll in LA, and they probably do, right? It would be worth it for the judges probably if they don't have any moral compass and they don't believe in Jesus, right? They're getting paid a whole bunch of money just to not say anything about a whole bunch of damaged America's Got Talent people and people coming with all these claims against the agreement, or to just always side in favor of the company, right? Of course, speculation. That's just my theory. Here you go. This bit is in caps, and I remember thinking I'm going to mention to you guys that this is in caps. Here we go. You hereby knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally waive any right you may have to trial by a jury in respect of any litigation, including but not limited to any claims, counterclaims, cross-claims, or third-party claims arising out of, under, or in connection with this agreement. No jury. Which a lot of the time, if you're facing big wigs like this, big people in the industry, jury can really be your friend in this situation. Obviously, that's why they're eliminating it. Then says, still in capitals, you agree that any cause of action you may have arising out of or related to this agreement, the site or the company's services must be commenced within 1 year after such cause of action accrues. After such period, such cause of action shall be permanently barred. I.e., you better pipe up about whatever you have to say within a year. After such cause of action accrues, after such period, such cause of action shall be permanently barred, i.e., they're forcing you that if you don't come clean within the time period that they've said from what's happened, you can't come clean anymore. No one's going to hear what you got to say. Plus, it's already in LA. See how it's all working against you, and you're signing up to this just by auditioning. And finally, my final highlight here, it says you agree that no joint venture, partnership, employment, or agency relationship exists between you and company as a result of this agreement or your use of the company's services. And pretty much what they're saying here is that as much as we've basically just explained how we own you and we're going to stop you from doing anything that's not in our best interest, we are not in a joint venture or a partnership. You are not employed by us. We do not have an agency relationship with you or anything like that. And we just wanted to make it clear to you that that's the case. So this, my friends, is exactly what people are signing up for when they sign up to be in America's Got Talent. And this is why I was saying in one of my previous videos that a lot of these contracts that are out there, people don't know what they're signing. They're really, really long. There's lots of big words. I mean, I had to Google so many of these words to understand what a lot of these words meant. What happens? People sign up to things. People don't understand that the stakes could be this high, because how would you know that? You don't know that the world works like that. Nobody's telling you that. Your friends and family probably don't know that. But just from auditioning, this is the type of terms people are signing up for. It's pretty scary, isn't it? And so to me, this is why I reckon so many people have so many things they want to say, so many injustices they want to call out, that they just cannot. Why? Because they've signed the contract. And when you sign something, you are held liable to the fact that you signed it. There are verbal contracts. There are so many contracts that can be accepted as verbal contracts if you can both agree that you both said something. Even verbal contracts are legally binding. So yeah, I'm going to be continuing discussing all these contracts, because as I started to look into this stuff, I realized, whoa, this is so much more, dodgy than I actually thought it was, to be honest. And I really thought it was dodgy, so how can it get any worse? But, this is how it is, and this is what people are facing. And I wonder how many people in whatever various ways have come across these types of contracts and we don't even know about it. And if this is why there are so many holes in a lot of the stories, a lot of the injustices of things that goes on, a lot of the scandals, and why it seems like sometimes we just don't know what's happening, and us not knowing what's happening isn't necessarily in favor of the person. A lot of the time it seems like it'd be better off for the people to know. Just like how Britney Spears wanted everybody to hear her testimony. Why? Because it's in her best interest that we all heard. And I think if the fact that we did hear made a massive impact. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below, what you're thinking about the contracts and everything. I hope you guys are really enjoying this content. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did I just say that? I can't remember. Other than that, please hit the like button if you did like the video. Other than that, God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one.